Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be going over how I build my kitchens, because kitchens are like one of the main things you need in the interior of a house. So I think they're important to do right. Especially if you're in survival mode, you may need different utilities there. So the first thing you want to start with is the floors. Now, usually I'm going to make 3 different kitchens here just to give you an idea of what you could do. I'm gonna make them like 5 wide. So I'm gonna do like an old kitchen, modern-ish kitchen type A, and then modern-ish, and then very modern kitchen. So for a like an old sort of kitchen, I'd go with granite and diorite checkers, like something like that. Or you could do stripped logs, because they just sort of tend to work. I'm gonna use dark oak stripped logs because they can look a little modern, but I think that you can really use them well in in an old kitchen. But what I wouldn't recommend you doing is using planks. They don't have a kitchen vibe. It needs to be like give off the vibe of like a polished floor. And then for this one, I'm gonna use light blue terracotta and then white concrete. And I'm just gonna do a normal, like, tiled floor that, like, the stereotypical kitchen has. Actually, what I'm gonna do is use quartz instead. Just normal quartz, so it has that little border, I think. And then what I'm going to do is use both quartz and smooth quartz to create a checkered tile for the modern one. It's a very subtle tile, but it makes a lot of sense with like modern styles. And it's just nice. And you can use basically any other block that you'd like. These are not to limit your options, but just to show you what you can do if you would like. The next thing I want to do is add in benches. So the most common thing that I use for benches are barrels, because they just look nice. They just sort of work. They look like storage. And then I'm going to also add in an island bench, because island benches are very cool. The benches should go around like the walls, and if you wanted to, you could make it come like around in like a U shape, with like this being like a breakfast bar. But I like the island bench sort of vibe because it gives you... I've only got one wall here, but if I had to, I'd probably make it go around the sides and then had like an island bench like here. For this kitchen, I'll just do polished andesite because there is color in the floor, so we don't need to bring in any extra colors for that, and it's not a very warm build. And then for here, I would like to use netherite blocks with smooth quartz slabs on top. This is very, very expensive. You could do like deep slate tiles if you're in survival, but I think netherite is just, it really looks the best. But you can use deep slate tiles interchangeably if you'd like. So now you've got your kitchen sort of framed. Like, this is the area that you're working with, and these are like the surfaces that you can work with. You need to add in other appliances. So usually I'd start with a stove, because you need furnaces. We don't have a lot of bench space here, so I actually only want to do a 2 wide thing, whereas usually I'd do a 3 wide, but we don't have a lot of space. So for this one, I'm going to use a normal furnace because it looks the oldest. And then what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put rails on top of that, I'm going to put slabs on top of that. Smooth stone slabs on top of it, because they didn't really have stoves back then. I mean, I doubt they'd have ovens either, but for the point of utility, we're going to put some of these in here. And then what I'm going to do is put a little, like, sort of exhaust thing up there, which would connect to the roof, but obviously we don't have walls or a roof, it's just a very bare bones design. So that's just a simple sort of oven for this. It doesn't really, the block palette fits with the theme, but the appliance doesn't, but I think that's fine. It's just sort of there as an example. And you also wouldn't have a fridge in this sort of situation either. So I'm going to use a sink instead. And yes, I just typed in sink. For this, I'd probably use a cauldron and bring up the wall 1 block to put a tripwire hook on. Or you could use a lever if you didn't like the look of the tripwire hook. So yeah, those are like the 2 main appliances. Obviously we don't have a heap of space, so it's not ideal, but I just want to use this to get you thinking about what sort of appliances you'd actually have in a kitchen and what you need to add. So yeah, we've got an oven and we have a sink. And then for like the timeless, leaning slightly 70s-ish, I'm going to use a smoker because it brings in like a little bit of warmth without actually being a super warm new color. And then I'm gonna get the detector rail and place it this way. So that just looks like a nice like gas stove. And then on top of that we can get like bricks. So on top of that we can get like a brick sort of exhaust. And again, usually I do this 3 blocks wide, but we are limited in space, so I won't. And then I like to do like a fridge. So what I like to do for that is I like to get iron blocks and then an iron door, and then 2 blocks high with the iron door just there, and then that's a pretty good fridge. However, I don't think that it really fits with like the vibe of this build, so I'm going to do another sink. This time I'm going to use a hopper because it just makes it look a little bit more modernish rather than something that's like standing on 4 legs. It goes into the wall, and then I'm going to do the same thing I did over here, and grab a tripwire hook. And there you go. And then finally for this build, I am going to add in a fridge. This build makes it look very tall, but that's okay, I think. And I am just going to hide a lever behind there so that the trapdoor stays up. But like that's like a sort of a tall fridge. Like usually, actually I'm going to do a second door because in modern times we have very big fridges. We have massive fridges. So we're going to have a fridge like that, and then everything in modern is just bigger than usual. So I'm going to get some blast furnaces because they do look pretty modern, and put 2 of them there, and then I'm going to grab some rails, but these are activator rails. So I'm going to place these down, and they're going to look like sort of like electric stoves. And then I'm going to get blackstone, I believe, and make that the sort of exhaust. And there you go. You've got appliances for each of your builds. You've got fridges, you've got stoves for all 3 styles. Ovens and stoves for all 3 styles, and then you've got sinks. And you have a lot of options. And for this like sort of older medieval type style, you could add in like a spruce wood door, like sort of fridge, like cool room sort of thing. But it's not a major appliance that you need. And then obviously I'm not doing actual walls with these, but add in windows where you can. For example, behind the stove is a really good place to put in some stained glass. So here I'm going to put in some light blue stained glass for some splashback. I think I'm going to put light blue terracotta behind that as well. For this, I would 100% do the same thing, but there's not enough space, so I would just put some light blue glass in there, make it a window, and then back here I would also make this a window. But yeah, add in windows where you can, because natural light is a big part of kitchens, especially like in the modern kitchens. Try and add skylights where you can, because that's like a really big part of, like, it makes it feel more open with the open living trend sort of thing. And then where you can, add in overhead cupboards. Like, we're pretty crowded over here with the modern kitchen, but in here I'm gonna add some barrels up here for some overhead cabinetry. Maybe just here. But yeah, overhead cabinetry is really cool. It's definitely something to consider when you are making your build. And if you have space, add a dining table somewhere, like off to the side over here. I would add a dining table. And adding a dining table just sort of helps, like, helps with the mood of the build. It makes it look more like something that is for a purpose and brings in the sort of like food and like family aspect of it, I guess. So for like a modern theme, I would suggest going with like a glass like feet on the table, and then carpet on top of that with like iron door seats. But yeah, like that's an okay dining table. But for something like this, I would go for more like fences and slabs, and just make it a little chunkier. And then you might want like stair seats or something. This style involves a lot of wood, especially in the kitchens, but I think it works. And then obviously these builds are too small to add detail to, but if you wanted to, you could add like but if you wanted to, like here, you could add campfires that are put out with like fish on them, maybe. What are they called? Cod? But yeah, you could have a bunch of cod on there. And just add in nice little details like that, or have like an item frame that sort of looks like a chopping board with fish on it. This is getting really fish themed. But like, add in the little details that tie it back to food and to those sorts of things. You could even add like a flower pot with like bamboo in it or something. Just sort of bring it back to the purpose of the space, like in real life, and what you're using it for in Minecraft, and it will really pop. I hope these examples help you in deciding what style you want your kitchen to be and how you want to make it. If you did enjoy this video, let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you very soon for another video.